Hi, I'm Kamali, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world on NewsFeed today. TripAdvisor names London as the world's best destination, but many will disagree. We get in-depth with the anti-vax debate. How many ways are there to slice a bagel? Asking for a friend. And tigers at play in animals doing stuff. Well, at the top of our newsfeed this Friday, London, it's been named the best city to visit by TripAdvisor, the world's biggest travel site. Now, those of us who know London know it's pretty good, but the best in the world? Really? We asked two of our reporters, one in London and one in a city not far from London, which came in second, to compare and contrast. Here's Arabella and Oliver.
London is calling. Despite the bores and woes of Brexit, this is now the best destination city in the world, according to TripAdvisor at least. Now, the company attributes this magnificent rise to its coveted top spot to the marriage of Harry and Meghan, Britain's glamorous young royals, and it says that their upcoming baby will keep the world fascinated with London.
Yeah, well, France also used to have royals too, but they got rid of them 200 years ago and turned their palaces into tourist hotspots. In fact, the Louvre behind me was the most visited museum across the globe last year. And French artists are arguably more well known, from Claude Monet to Henri Matisse. Tourists visiting the French capital can visit every museum across the city for free on the first Sunday of every month. It's called Culture, darling.
Culture, darling. Well, behind me is the Tate Modern, the UK's most visited tourist attraction last year. And like most of our museums and galleries, it's free. And while you're down here, there's loads of other stuff to see. And of course, you can't miss St. Paul's Cathedral, towering over there.
You think that's towering? It's got nothing on the Eiffel Tower in Paris. It's easily one of the most iconic monuments in the world, and I'd say it's a lot more recognisable than that bridge you're standing on. The 324-metre-high structure is the original Iron Lady. You can have Maggie Thatcher, though.
True, it is awfully grand, but London has its own tower, and while it might not be as tall as yours, it's very long in history. Now, the Tower of London has been home to thousands and thousands of prisoners over 9 centuries and seen countless executions, including the last in 1941, a Nazi spy. And if that's not enough for you, you can see the crown jewels on display inside, and even, if you're very, very lucky, catch a glimpse of one of the famous ghosts.
Well, all this tourist thing has made me quite hungry, and we all know that French food is the best food in the world. In Paris, there are 632 Michelin-starred restaurants. Our patisseries are temples of sweetness. French cheese, oh la la. And bistro food will beat pub grub any day of the week. We'll let you enjoy those traditional English staples, the curries which have come from India, the kebabs which have come from Turkey, but at least you've still got chips. Basically, fat fries. Or as American friends would call them, thick French fries.
All right, Ollie, Paris might have London beat there, but do you know what? My fish and chips is pretty great, and this is officially the best city in the world to visit. Bon appetit.
Well, Afiat Olsen, as we say here. So those were the top 2. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments. For now, let's run through the other places in the top 10. Well, here's the list. As you can see, not one mention of the US. Eat that, Big Apple. Rome's on there, as is Phuket in Thailand. And of course, the best city in the world in NewsFeed's humble opinion, Istanbul. Okay, let's take a look at some of the other things that caught our eye on social media. Now, these pictures of Rahimala Afua Yazid are going viral. She posted them to Instagram and said she did it to show pride in her religion. She lives in Tokyo, where fashion is a big deal, but there are not many Muslims. She said she wants to show people can wear a headscarf and not feel out of place in a society where few people wear one. The singer Miley Cyrus has been tweeting videos of her new haircut. She's done it in homage to her younger fictional self, Hannah Montana, which is just the kind of self-obsessed thing you'd expect from a person who's grown up as a celebrity. Now, the rise in measles cases around the world has been blamed on people not vaccinating their children. But how did people come not to trust the science, which can save lives?
Can vaccines save lives? According to history and science, yes. But according to hundreds of blogs and social media accounts, vaccines can cause diseases, lifelong problems, and even autism. So how did vaccinations, one of the biggest successes of modern medicine, become so controversial in recent times? And why are there an increasing number of parents who refuse to vaccinate their children? This month, a student testified before the US Congress about his decision to get vaccinated against the measles at the age of 18, despite his family's wishes.
And my mother is an anti-vax advocate that believes vaccines cause autism, brain damage, and do not benefit the Health and Safety Society, despite the fact such opinions have been debunked numerous times by the scientific community.
Ethan Lindenberger said his mother's convictions about vaccinations came primarily from Facebook. Skepticism towards vaccination started in 1998 when British Dr. Andrew Wakefield published a research paper linking the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine to autism. The study, based on a sample of only 12 participants, went viral, but was later discredited by top health organizations. In 2006, an investigation by the Sunday Times of London revealed that Wakefield was paid more than $520,000 to fabricate his findings. Wakefield was stripped of his medical license and his study was retracted. But 21 years after Wakefield's infamous study, the anti-vax movement has spread globally and gained a growing number of online followers. Although the World Health Organization considers MMR vaccines to be one of the best investments for public health, the spread of misinformation about vaccinations on platforms such as YouTube and Facebook has changed the way people view immunizations. As the refusal to vaccinate grows, the WHO has listed vaccine hesitancy as one of the 10 global health threats of this year, prompting lawmakers and public health advocates to call on Facebook and Google to clamp down on misinformation around anti-vaccines. But years of online misinformation has had its toll on public health. Despite the many studies that emphasize the safety of vaccines, an increasing number of parents are delaying or refusing to vaccinate their children. This vaccine hesitancy has been linked to the comeback of vaccine-preventable diseases such as measles in some parts of the world where they were thought to have been eradicated. Yes, it's 2019 and measles is making a comeback. It's not only in poor countries with limited access to vaccinations, but in countries in Europe and the US too. In the US, 300 measles cases have been confirmed this year, making it the worst outbreak of the disease at the start of the year in more than a quarter century. The leaders of the American Academy of Pediatrics have called for the #1 priority of 2019 to be the elimination of non-medical exemption for vaccinations for children. Measles was declared eradicated in the US in 2000, which meant the disease was confined to a few cases. But in 2011, 220 Americans were infected, the largest number in more than a decade, and 2/3 of the infected cases never received the measles vaccination. Before the introduction of the measles vaccination in 1963 and widespread vaccination, measles would cause an estimated 2.6 million deaths every year. But it seems like anti-vaccination followers have not learned from the past, and parents are increasingly refusing to vaccinate their children, which raises the question of whether vaccinations should be the choice of parents or a matter of public safety.
Now, the German capital, Berlin, is a diverse and vibrant city, but it's also, as with all major cities, it's got some divisions. Now, this next piece tells the tale of 2 Berlin districts and asks if their difference is symbolic of Europe more widely.
A variety of cuisines, street art,
Turks keep up multicultural party, definitely.
churches, mosques, and much more. You can find it all here in Kreuzberg, Berlin. It's topped the list of the hippest neighborhoods in Europe.
It's really international neighborhood, and it looks completely different with the rest of Germany, maybe.
Once a densely populated industrial area, it was destroyed during World War II. Later, investors avoided the neighborhood as rent prices were regulated by the law. Housing had become low quality but cheap, attracting many students, artists, and immigrants, who form up to 30% of the population here. It made the area culturally, politically, and economically diverse. Some 10 kilometers away, the atmosphere is different. In Marzahn, the streets are emptier, there are fewer international restaurants, and concrete tower blocks dominate the area. The neighborhood is almost 90% ethnically German.
Einwanderung hier und das alles. Und das ist, man merkt jetzt eben, dass da keinerlei Respekt von den Kindern vorhanden ist. Von den Kindern, die zugereist sind.
The neighborhood is also meant to be one of the far-right strongholds in the city. Some rallies and protests held here have sparked concerns, such as the demonstrations against refugee housing in the broader area.
Na, oder halt, dass hier auch sehr viele Hazis wohnen, Hartz-IV-Bezogene, was auch gar nicht mal unbedingt so ist, weil hier wohnen auch ganz normale Leute, halt so wie wir halt. Und wir haben jetzt zum Beispiel unsere Nachbarin, die ist jetzt auch eine Dunkelhäutige, damit haben wir auch gar kein Problem. Nur können die noch mehr halt wohnen, ne? Solange wir hier jetzt nicht nur ein ganzes Haus mit voll haben, ist ja alles in Ordnung.
Ich sag halt auch immer, solange man sich benimmt, also wie ein normaler Mensch halt quasi, ne?
Marzahn was traditionally a leftist area, with the left party as the strongest party. But its popularity has dropped, and now Marzahn is part of the electoral area where the far-right Alternative for Germany Party, or AfD, won 21.6% and became the second biggest party. The party is known for its anti-Muslim and anti-immigrant sentiments. Some voters say they've turned their back to the establishment parties after feeling neglected. They say they have not seen any changes for the better, and some simply share the party's anti-immigrant sentiment. Far-right symbols on the streets are hard to find, but Germany is also known for its harsh laws prohibiting them. Kreuzberg voted differently. The top three parties, the Left Party, the Green Party, and the Social Democrat Party, are all leftist parties, and the elected member of parliament is of Kurdish Turkish descent. AfD has just won more than 6% of the votes. So are these two neighborhoods in Berlin a reflection of the wider situation in Europe?
Okay, let's go around the world now for some other stories we'd like you to know this Friday. The actor Jussie Smollett has been ordered to pay $160,000 to cover the cost of the investigation into his alleged attack. He says that two people used racist and homophobic insults toward him and also tied a rope around his neck a few weeks ago. The police investigated and said that he made it up and paid two people to do it to him to try and get sympathy and a pay rise. He was charged with 16 counts of lying, but they were all dropped earlier this week by prosecutors. The police, the mayor of Chicago, where it allegedly happened, and the president of the United States says the decision to drop the charges was a mistake. We don't know why they decided to drop the charges, as the investigation is sealed for now. The European Space Agency has launched a study which will pay people $19,000 to stay in bed for 60 days. Great. It's to test the effects of artificial gravity ahead of manned missions to Mars. The 24 participants, 12 women and 12 men, will have to lie with their head 6 degrees below horizontal and with their shoulders constantly touching the mattress. Then, once each day, some of them will be put into a centrifuge and spun around, as well as being given other experiments. After the 60 days in bed, they'll then have a further 29 days to acclimatize. No word yet on whether they'll be able to scroll Twitter while they're doing all of this. Now, I like bagels as much as the next person, especially with cream cheese and salmon, but I digress. And all this time, I thought a bagel needed to be sliced just once, horizontally. But maybe I've been wrong all this time. Look at this. Yes, these bagels, there they are sliced many times like a loaf of bread. Someone called Alec Kautman posted it saying, "Today I introduced my co-workers to the St. Louis secret of ordering bagels bread sliced. It was a hit." Well, Alec, it may have been a hit with your co-workers, but the internet was less than taken with it. Here's a slice of some of the Twitter clapbacks.
Okay, I live in St. Louis and would like to clarify that we are not all sociopaths.
This feels like something that should get a person sent to Gitmo.
It's like a crime scene.
All right, Gitmo's a bit extreme. Now, in Friday's Animals Doing Stuff, we bring you 3 little stripy furballs. They are Sumatran tigers, and this was their, where are they? There they are. This was their debut at their zoo in Sydney. 2 are female and 1 is male. They are called Mawar, Tenga, and Pemana. The Sumatran tiger is critically endangered, and there are said to be only 350 left in the wild. So it is great for the species that these 3 are now in the world. And that will be all from the NewsFeed team. Reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints, and suggestions. You'll find me at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on Twitter and YouTube, and you can follow me on Instagram. Follow, subscribe, and add. See you again soon.